Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Burner Account. As usual, and as always, you got your boy Big Joe.
You got your boy Julio the Don.
And ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get into one of the hottest topics in all of the NFL right now, Julio, and that is the Dallas Cowboys head coaching search of 2025. We got a we've got a pretty good list of coaches that the Cowboys are looking to actually bring in for an interview. The big name so far is Kellen Moore, who the Cowboys did ask for permission to interview, and that was actually granted by the Eagles. And with that, because they are in the middle of a playoff run, they only got 3 hours to be able to interview him. So it'll be interesting to see what information they've gotten. A lot of the rumors going around, especially from some anonymous GMs and stuff like that, previously with Kellen. I think this is Kellen's second or third time trying to actually make the circuit of head coaching interviews. There were some anonymous general managers that said, that guy's going to be a head coach someday. So he does, he's smart, he's sharp, he's very well thought out with his responses. And so that kind of leads me to believe that he is impressing some of these teams that he has interviewed for. Maybe the lack of experience is what's keeping him down. But Julio, man, we'll start off with Kellen Moore. What do you think about that, man? Is that a name that you're impressed with? Is that somebody that you have interest in? Or do you think, hey, maybe it's still a little too soon?
I mean, for me, um, not super impressed with him, even though that while he was here, we did have the highest scoring offense during his duration here. So you can't take that away from him. The offense was a lot flashier. They were high scoring, a lot of passing that Kellen used to, have our team do. We didn't rely on the run as much. So, um, and a lot of time for many, many years, I know that Cowboy fans have expressed the fact that why aren't we running the ball? Why aren't we pounding the rock? We got away from that. That was something that used to be a staple here in Dallas. That was something that we kind of built our program around. We were a run first, throw second team. And then all of a sudden it was flipped to we were pass first and then run second. And then we were just pass only at one point. So it was one of those things to where I kind of have a love-hate relationship just because we had him here for so long and we saw the same thing, right? Year after year after year. And
Yeah, it got really predictable.
it was like there's nothing new, there's nothing fresh, there's nothing that catches your attention that's like, oh my God, they're starting to try something different. So I think because of that already bad sour taste in your mouth, I guess you could say, from him being here already, I think because of that, it kind of makes me go, I don't know if this is a good pick for the Cowboys. I understand from a management standpoint why it would be a great pick because he's already familiar with the place. He's already familiar with a lot of the players here. He's already built
Yeah,
that kind of relationship with them. So I understand it from that aspect of it, but I still I don't think that it would be something that would elevate the team to where we need to be in order for us to make a difference going into 2026. So, or the 2026 season or 2025 season, whichever one it is. But still, I don't see it as a good move on our part.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I'm not really hyped up about that. The thought of Kellen Moore coming and being a head coach here. I think the biggest thing for me is maybe he is smart, maybe he is innovative, maybe Mike held him down as far as the play calling goes. And even though we did have the highest scoring offense, maybe Mike still wanted him to be a little bit more conservative. And so he kind of held him back a little bit. But Kellen Moore just doesn't come off to me as a guy that can lead a group of men. I don't know. Maybe it's just his baby phase. The fact that he is a younger guy that just kind of makes me feel like he's not ready.
And that
But
was one of the things that's like I remember you saying we need some young blood in here at one point, not an older Bill Belichick type coach or Pete Carroll type coach, which I know those names have been thrown around a couple of times. when it comes to this, you know, circus that we've been dealing with the
Right.
head coaching position. But I know for a part of me is like, yes, we do need somebody younger, somebody fresher, somebody with better ideas. But I think because we've already experienced Kellen Moore already one time here, it's one of those things that we're just like, I don't know if we want to go that route again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Dak would love to have him back. The familiarity there, the fact that Dak did experience a lot of success under Kellen Moore. Uh, a lot of the players seem to really like Kellen Moore, so I think that is something that he has going for him in his favor. Again, the big one is the familiarity with the Joneses. They know the kind of man he is, and it sounds like they're impressed enough to want to continue to work with him and maybe give him another opportunity. So the fact that he was one of the first ones that they've discussed, and actually he was the first one that they've officially just sat down and interviewed. That's got to mean something. I mean, the list does continue to grow, though. I mean, we've heard some pretty interesting names to go along with Kellen Moore. You talk about coaches that are kind of in the middle of a playoff run. You talk about guys like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, the coordinators, offense and defense, respectively, of the Detroit Lions. Those are some hot commodities right now with the way the Lions are playing and how the Lions look, especially offensively.
Yeah.
Some of the creativity you see there. Now that's creativity, and Ben Johnson is a young guy,
Yep.
so that's the kind of guy that I'm looking at. Although he doesn't have the head coaching experience, so it kind of makes you wonder, like, hey, just because he's flashy as a coordinator, it doesn't always pan out as a head coach material.
But you're
If
also
you
taking that kind of risk with Kellen Moore too, because he's never been a head coach. So
exactly,
yeah.
exactly, but the only thing Kellen has is, again, he's got the experience already with the Joneses and the
Mhm.
team. You look at Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Are those names of guys that maybe you're a little more interested in because their team has shown some success, or is that something as
Definitely.
well where you're just like, hey man, these guys, they don't have the experience?
No, definitely. I mean, you look at the historic gameplay that season that the Lions have had this season, and the way that they come out and play. And again, you just finished saying it, the creativity that Ben Johnson has on the offense, the the way the defense is playing, even missing some of their key players that were injured very early in the season. It shows you it goes to show you what kind of respect those players have for those coaches. Like
Right.
they go to bat for their coaches every single week, and they show up, they show out. I mean, hell, when they played against us, they beat us damn near by 50 points. Damn near by 50
They
points.
beat the brakes off of the
And
Cowboys.
you see them play some of these other actual playoff teams that they've already faced in the regular season, and they've demolished some of these teams. Now, they haven't just steamrolled over everybody, but
Right.
they are kind of one of those. That's the team that, for me, honestly, right now, I have them picked to win the Super Bowl. I have them to go to the Super Bowl and to win the Super Bowl just because they look that good offensively and defensively. I know a lot of people talk about how a complete team the Eagles look like right now, and that they're pretty much, they have a lot of star power there with AJ Brown and Saquon and all these other players. But you forget that the Lions, they're there and they're a really, really big threat in the NFC.
Yep.
And they have basically proven to everybody with every single team that they've played that they can stomp a mud hole in you really, really quick and get it out of control if you don't have an answer for them. So I like both of those guys. If we could land either one of them, I would be super happy for that. I'd be ecstatic going into
Yeah,
next year.
man. Yeah, absolutely. Aaron Glenn, especially like you said, with that defense, doing more with less. His Some key contributors have gone down
Mhm.
and they haven't missed a beat. Like they're still looking good. Offensively, like I said, the creativity I've seen throughout the year from Ben Johnson and that group. I mean, the proof's in the pudding, dog. Jared Goff looks like Like he's resurrected his career.
Bro, he looks like an all-pro all of a sudden. We ragged on him for so many years saying he
Everybody said
looks
he was a
ter
bust.
yeah, everybody was like, "He's a bust." That's why LA got rid of him and brought in Stafford. You know, everybody was talking so much noise about him, and then he goes to Detroit, and look at what they've done in Detroit,
180,
man.
bro. 180 turned it around.
It is ridiculous, and now people are like, "Man, what about Jared Goff? That guy is actually good. He
Right.
actually looks really, really good now." And it's all about the people around you. I honestly think, we've talked about it plenty of times before on the podcast where it's it's the culture that's around you. It's the coaches that are around you, the teammates around you that kind of build you up and give you that confidence to go out there each and every week to play your best football. And when you
Mhm.
have that kind of support, when you have those kind of coaches pushing you in the right direction, you're going to get the result that you're getting in Detroit. You really are going to get it. But if you have coaches that are like, "Oh, I'm a player first coach. You're going to be my buddy and this and that and the other," it's like you get what you get. You have a bunch of individuals that just plan for themselves, and you end up with what we ended up this year, 7-10 instead of 12 and whatever it was that the
12 and
Lions had
5.
this year. 12 and
Yeah.
5 that they had this year.
Yeah, man. I'm hoping that the next person we bring in is somebody that is a leader of men, somebody that is innovative. I don't want a defensive coach. Honestly, I'd rather have an offensive guy, or if you're going to bring in a
Agree.
defensive coach, make sure he brings in an offensive guy that's worth a damn, not just some
Mhm.
retread or one of his friends. I know it's a good old boys club once you hire a head coach, because at that point it's a head coach and all their best friends. So it's kind of biased. So make sure the guy that you bring in to lead the charge actually has a group of men behind him that are worth a damn and can help your team overall. The next name I want to bring up is a guy that is a defensive guy. He didn't get a fair shake, I don't think, in New York when he was coaching the Jets. And a lot of that is the Jets are a dumpster fire organization, man. Even after he's gone, even after he's gone, look at how bad the Jets are with Aaron Rodgers and all the dysfunction and Garrett Wilson complaining he wants to be out of there, and it just looks like Robert Saleh got the blame, and it's way deeper than Robert Saleh being the problem. But Robert Saleh is scheduled to get an interview with the Cowboys in the next few days. What do you think about a name like that? Do you think that is a decent defensive head coach name, or do you think that's kind of like, hey, look what he did with the Jets?
I mean, to me, I look at what, like they say, you're only as good as your last game, right? Your
Okay.
last effort. So looking at the body of work and the things that he did in New York, I can't sit there and put the entire blame on him, but I can't not blame him for certain things. Like,
Sure.
you did have players just kind of doing whatever the hell they wanted to do. Aaron Rodgers doing Aaron Rodgers things,
Yeah, but
and
he's done that everywhere.
yeah, he's done that everywhere. And it's like you have to be able to get to a point to where you have to get control of your team, especially being in the head coaching position. So for me to see that spiral happen in New York, I think it started with him and then it just kind of just got worse after he left. It never got any better without him. So I'm I'm kind of sitting in that same spot where you are, where I think we've seen enough defensive minds here that we need an offensive coach. We don't need somebody that's defensive first. I think we really need somebody like a Ben Johnson. Again, Ben Johnson to me, that would be the ultimate prize for us to get as a head coach. But I don't see it being any different in any aspect. I don't see how he can help us improve our defense. To be honest,
Hmm.
um,
I don't know about that.
I'm just saying what my opinion is, man.
Sure.
I mean, you may look at it differently,
Sure.
but I don't see him. from what I saw from New York, I don't see him doing anything that would change anything here. And
That's
that's my take on
interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think New York had a defensive problem. I think it was the offense.
it. Mhm.
And when you have Aaron Rodgers and he goes down 3 plays into the season, and then you're working with Zach Wilson as your backup quarterback, I mean, I can't hold your offense accountable for that. It just is
Yeah.
what it is. I do think that Robert Saleh, he'd be great as an interview for the defensive coordinator, but I don't necessarily see him as a head coach here. But I do think he'd be more innovative and he'd have this defense still looking right, especially with the pieces we do have.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't mind seeing Robert Saleh as our DC here. But as far as a head coach, I don't see that as the case. Uh, it's kind of crappy for me to put it like this, but I do feel like maybe he's more of a Rooney Rule kind of candidate, where hey, we kind of have to check the check box. I think him and the next name Leslie Frazier, those two guys are what I would consider kind of the tick boxes of the Rooney Rule satisfaction. Not to say anything negative towards those guys. I think those guys have proven that they are good in the NFL. It's just I don't think they're head coaching material here. So somebody like those two names, they don't excite me other than maybe defense coordinator, something like that. Uh I know we've kind of kicked around the can with Jason Witten possibly getting a chance, and then there's rumors that Jerry was kind of grooming him. He sent him to like some kind of a camp to kind of learn how to be a head coach or get that coaching experience. And ultimately the plan was to kind of get him here in some capacity, kind of build him up as the heir apparent to Mike McCarthy. And that was part of the reason why Mike McCarthy kind of soured even more on this whole situation and said, you know what, I'm not doing it. Bobby Belt of 105.3 The Fan really dropped a lot of nuggets on the whole relationship between Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, the team.
Yeah.
And he did outline that Jason Witten was somebody that is kind of like an heir apparent. So if we don't have Witten this go round, it's definitely not off the table that maybe in the next cycle of a head coaching run, he gets some play here. So be on the lookout for Jason Witten. And the last one, Julio, and we'll end the video with this name. This is a big one, and it's still kind of a maybe, but we got prime time neon Deion Sanders, who is really looking like he's in the mix for a possible opportunity here. Uh, who has stated, I'd be really interested in this job if it was offered to me. And Jerry's like, ultimately, Jerry's very intrigued by the thought of Deion coming here and being the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. So that is a huge, huge revelation these past couple days. Julio, what do you think about Deion coming in as the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, bro, honestly, I think a lot of. Am I saying it's not a possibility? By any stretch of the means, because both of them have come out and said, they have a great relationship with each other. They talk to each other all the time, as far as Jerry and Dion goes. So I wouldn't put it past them to do something like that. My hardest thing to kind of consider when it comes to Dion coming here or being the new head coach is that Dion has always been player first. He loves the game more than anything. And for him to see, players on this level, in his words, disrespect the game and not play the game to their full potential, I think that transition for him to see players treat the game the way that they treat it now, it would be hard for him. Not only that, but he also likes to have some sort of control. He wants to be able to have some say in what he's doing, how he's running the team, how he's doing things there. So because of those things, I think that it's one of those things to where Jerry could consider it because he's a huge name. And of course, in having a huge name and saying, hey, the new head coach for the Dallas Cowboys is Deion Sanders. Just imagine the media frenzy that it would cause
It's
just
going to be more of a circus than it already is.
just with that alone, just with people knowing that Dion Prime Time is our new head coach, bro, it would create so much. We would be all over the news every week, even in the off season, because of that. So because then there's going to become speculation on, is he going to bring his son here? Are we
Right.
going to trade back? Are we going to do this? Which it just turns it, like you just said right now, it's going to turn it into a whole big ass circus if
Yeah.
that were to happen. So for me, as far as him being a coach, just because he coached in college doesn't necessarily mean that it will transition well into the NFL. I know that I've heard him say on several podcasts before that because of the love that he has for the game, because of the respect that he has for the game, him dealing with grown men that don't respect the game that he loves and he respects and sees that, he's going to have a problem with that. And like I think I heard him quote it one time, you'll see us go into the locker room with 52 and you might see us come back out of that locker room at halftime with 24. That's how
Mhm.
that's how passionate I am about that. I will sit half the team off and just take the players that want to play out there to play with me. So because of that mindset, because I know how Dion being a former player himself and a Hall of Famer, he's not gonna just take sitting by the side and letting Jerry run his circus the way he wants to run it and not say anything. He's gonna say something, it's gonna get vocal, and then at some point it's just gonna sour, just kind of like it did with Jimmy. So I don't I wouldn't put it past Jerry to just for the circus sake to have all the attention on us to keep throwing that name out there to being like, well, I might have talked to Dion and we could have had some discussions where we could getting close to something to where he could possibly be our next head coach. But I don't see it happening, bro, by any stretch of the means on my end.
There is a rumor that Colorado has offered Dion an extended deal of some sort that he hasn't even looked at yet.
Mhm.
That people in Dion's inner circle have kind of been pushing him, like, "Hey, man, really go for that Cowboys job." And it has been leaked that he is interested. I don't think that the relationship between Jerry and Dion would sour, though. I feel like Dion has enough cachet with Jerry that he could say, "Hey, Jerry, let me try things my way. Let me try something here, and we'll see how it works." And I do think Dion's the kind of guy that's like, if it fails, it's on me. Like, but at least give me the opportunity. And I think Jerry would afford him that leniency.
So you
The-
think he's going to sell hope to the hope dealer?
I'm saying, like, the hopium is going to be all over the place. But the other thing is Dion's biggest hurdle is Steven Jones, from what we hear now.
Oh, yeah.
Steven not being a fan of Dion when we brought him to the Cowboys as a player, and he
Yep.
pushed us into a Super Bowl with that acquisition. And Jerry's talking about how Steven had him up against the wall with his forearm, like,
I saw that. Yeah.
because Jerry was like, "We'll just give him a $16 million signing bonus, and then we'll pay him league minimum salary." And Steven didn't like that, and I don't think Steven liked the circus of that. So I don't see Jerry and Dion having an issue as much as Steven and Dion having an issue. Um, I'm not the biggest fan of Dion coming here. I don't know how that would work. I've said that consistently, but
Mhm.
the more I hear about the relationship and the more I see like the support from the players, if the players are excited, maybe they'll put it, there's a different gear that they have as opposed to getting burned out from the same old message with Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful at least we have a good solid name of candidates that we're looking at. It's
Mhm.
not some generic, we already know who we want, and we're just gonna go through the motions, do our little Rooney Rule stuff, and be done. So I'm excited with that, and I'll be excited to see what these Cowboys do with the head coaching search. But with that being said, everybody, we do want to thank you so much for just taking the time to watch this video. We do appreciate the support. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, and be a member of the burner account. And until the next one, peace.
Peace.